Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Good evening. You're watching Oman News from the Sultanate of Oman Television. First, the headlines. Assigned by His Majesty Sultan Qaboos, the Minister of Tourism presides over naming and launch of the Royal Navy of Oman ship Shabab Oman 2 in the Kingdom of the Netherlands. The Sultanate participates in the Free Stage Nights Festival in the Jordanian capital Amman by interactive stage plays. An infection control conference is held at Sohar Hospital coinciding with World Day for Hand Hygiene. Good evening once again, and thank you for joining us. Those were the headlines, and now the news in details. Assigned by His Majesty Sultan Qaboos, Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, His Excellency Ahmed bin Nasser Al-Herzi, Minister of Tourism, presided over naming and launch of the Royal Navy of Oman ship Shabab Oman 2 in a ceremony held in the city of Felshing, south of the Kingdom of Netherlands. The ship is meant to continue spreading spirit of love, friendship and peace among nations of the world. The minister said that he was honored by the Royal Trust to launch a name of the ship, adding that the ship will add new dimensions as an icon. The Royal Anthem of Oman, followed by the Royal Dutch Anthem, where played some verses of the Holy Quran were recited, and then the Minister of Tourism announced the naming of the new ship as Shabab Oman 2. Rear Admiral Abdullah bin Khamis al-Raisi, commander of the Royal Navy of Oman, said that this ship will play the role that the current ship Shabab Oman is doing, which is representing the Sultanate at international events. Then, the director of the Dutch Diamond Company for Shipbuilding, which was tasked to build Shabab Oman 2, delivered a speech, and that was followed by a speech by Commander of the Royal Navy of Oman, who stressed the importance of this achievement. Then, the chief guest and the attendees toured facilities of the ship, where the launch ceremony ended by the chief guest shaking hands with members of the supervising team of the project and crew of the ship. Shabab Oman 2 is considered the fruit of the blessed renaissance and royal care and patronage of His Majesty the Sultan, Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, to develop and modernize the Royal Navy of Oman. Omani Mazoon Group represented the Sultanate by participating in the Free Stage Nights Festival, which started in the Jordanian capital Amman. The group performed its stage play Al-Khusa and Azura. The festival was in its 9th version and brought up a wide Arab participation. The play focused on living in darkness, fearing from being at light sport, thus the truth. It reflected a high standard of symbolizing themes and events in a play that became appealing and effective. The play attracted admiration and a standing ovation from the audience, which tied the play background dimension that some people may leave to escape the reality. The Sultanate also participated by another work for children, which also attracted interaction mainly from children. The festival witnessed a strong competition among participating teams. Within papers of surgical infection and other medical complications where numerous matters and solutions were discussed in an event coincided with the World Day for Hand Hygiene, which falls on the 5th of May every year. Infection Prevention and Control Conference was held at Sohar Hospital and attended by a number of physicians and consultants. The third Infection Prevention and Control Conference was held under the theme Together to Control Infection and Prevention, with the aim to seek patient safety in that related to infection prevention and control, infection spreading, surgical infection, and other related complications in the primary healthcare institutions. The conference was also aimed to gain experience and knowledge in the field of healthcare for patient safety and healthy atmosphere to minimize life loss. It was scientifically proven that hand hygiene leads to sharp decrease of infections related to health care. You're watching the Sultanate of Oman television, and still to come in our news bulletin. In the eastern Ukrainian city of Slovakia, fighting between pro-Russian rebels and government forces has left dozens dead. Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. The Directorate General for Education in the Governorate of North Sharqiya celebrated the opening of Private Education Forum, which was under the title We Can Learn. It came to motivate the students of private education, highlight their talents and enable them audio-visual and mental abilities. The forum included a number of artistic items performed by private education students with the participation of other healthy students, aiming to highlight their talents in the fields of learning difficulties such as pronunciation, speech, and overcoming audio disability. The forum also contained associated exhibition including a number of works made by private education students. International news. Ukraine's foreign ministry condemned a visit by President Vladimir Putin to the Crimean Peninsula annexed by Russia in March as a deliberate escalation of a crisis between the two countries. Meanwhile, in the flashpoint eastern city of Slovakia, fighting between pro-Russian rebels and government forces has left dozens dead, with residents at their wits' end. More details in the following report.
Scenes like this on the outskirts of Slavyansk have become all too familiar. Pro-Russian rebels took control of the eastern Ukrainian city several weeks ago, and clashes with government forces are frequent. With a curfew in place, local residents are at their wits' end.
If they want war, they should go and fight elsewhere, but not here, not in Ukraine. We have not forgotten World War II. Victory Day on May 9th is coming, and we are all in mourning.
Trains are no longer running, and though shops still have supplies, many people fear the worst.
Whatever happens, it won't end well. Why? Because they've gone too far, way too far. It's not good. It's the people who suffer more than anything.
Gradually, Ukrainian troops surrounding the city are tightening their grip. The rebels have set up numerous barricades. For them, there is no doubt that their future lies with Russia.
Many people who live in this region are Russians. My father is Russian, my mother is Belarusian. We have lots of brothers and sisters who live there. And what now? Kiev says it has to close the borders.
Slavyansk may be a city of just 100,000 people, but it is strategically important. It's a mere 100 miles from the Russian border and is home to a vast stockpile of weapons from the Soviet era. These rebels on the southern edge of the city are determined not to cede their ground.
How can we talk with this kind of government? How can we negotiate with it if it won't listen to us? It's the government that's responsible for everything. We're simple people. We just want to live in peace.
The situation may appear calm for now, but the fighting has already claimed dozens of lives. And these men know that the violence in this flashpoint city could reignite at any moment.
Lebanon is bracing for a summer drought after a record dry winter exacerbated by a massive influx of Syrian refugees and long-standing water management problems. Following report gives the details.
For farmers here in the Bekaa Valley, these are worrying times. With very little winter snow and rain, Lebanon is facing its worst drought in 80 years.
Due to the lack of rain in Lebanon this year, the crop production has dropped to 50%, and we're afraid that we will go dry this year.
This year's rainfall was half normal levels. As a result, the riverbeds and wells used to irrigate crops may fall to dangerously low levels. And finding more water is no easy task.
For 50 years, Lebanon has been pumping the groundwater table, and it's recently experienced a significant drawdown. Before, we could find water at 20 meters, and now we have to dig wells down to 200 meters to pump water for the farmers and supply our cities.
Water cuts in the capital are now frequent. Yet many Lebanese haven't modified wasteful habits, like washing their cars as much as 3 times a week. The company Just Wash is trying to satisfy demand without depleting Lebanon's valuable water supplies.
We wash a car with less than a cup of water, around 100 to 150 millimeters compared to other stations that use an average of 150 liters of water. We're campaigning against water waste in Lebanon because we're getting to a point where we won't have any water anymore.
But more drastic measures may be needed. More than 1 million Syrian refugees now live in Lebanon, increasing the country's overall population 20% and placing further pressure on its limited resources.
You're watching the Sultanate of Oman television, and now before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. Assigned by His Majesty Sultan Qaboos, the Minister of Tourism presides over a naming and launch of the Royal Navy of Oman ship Shabab Oman 2 in the Kingdom of Netherlands. The Sultanate participates in the Free Stage Nights Festival in the Jordanian capital Amman by interactive stage plays. And Infection Prevention and Control Conference is held at Sohar Hospital coinciding with the World Day for Hand Hygiene. And with that, we come to an end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studios, it's good night.